you all for coming here tonight. Tonight's topic is going to be on the NFL. For those of you who don't know what the NFL is, it's the National Football League. Many people enjoy watching the National Football League whenever it's on TV. Their main broadcast is actually on Sunday nights during the season. Their average viewership on that is 18 million people per broadcast. It's down 1 million from a season ago. However, it is still the #1 broadcast in America. Super Bowl Sunday, everyone's familiar with that. NFL is responsible for hosting this event. It's the #1 telecast in America as far as numbers. However, the NFL does have one problem that has been lingering for a long time now, and that is the officiating and the referees. Lately, the referees have been blowing calls that have been costing the outcome of the game to certain teams. It's been ruining the game for fans. They have begun complaining. That is where a lot of the lost viewership is coming from, is missed calls, I believe. Roger Goodell actually offered a quote on these missed calls. Roger Goodell was quoted saying, "Whenever officiating is a part of any discussion post-game, it is never a good outcome for us. We know that, and our clubs know that. But we also know that our officials are human just like the rest of us. We also know that they're officiating a game that is played at a very fast pace. Players are moving very quickly, and so it causes the referees to have to make snap decisions under difficult circumstances, and they won't always get them right." Roger Goodell makes a pretty valid point that referees are human and they're not going to get every call right. However, he offers no real solution to the problem, and he's more just appeasing the fans on this problem. There's no one holding the NFL accountable for the missed calls. They just miss the calls, they release a statement after the game, and people move forward. But there's been no plan put in place to make sure these calls are not missed in the future. Just to provide a few examples of missed calls that have changed outcomes of games here recently in the NFL, the Rams-Saints game, the NFC Championship, Drew Brees on a 3rd and 10, dropped back, made a perfect pass to his receiver that was open on the sideline, and the receiver was basically obliterated before the ball was even there. This is 100 times out of 100 pass interference in the NFL. However, the referee on that sideline missed the call. This changed the outcome of the game by making the Saints lose the game in which they should have won if that call was made correctly. After that game, the NFL came out and admitted they missed the call. But once again, the NFL just admitted their wrongs and put nothing in place to ensure it doesn't happen in the future. Another example of blown calls that cost teams the game was a missed false start in the Browns-Chargers game. For those of you who don't know, a false start is just when the offensive line moves before the ball is actually moved. Now, it is normally a minor penalty. It's only 5 yards. You repeat the down. However, this moved the Browns out of field goal range, which later caused them to lose this game. The NFL once again came out and appeased the fans. They fired the ref that missed the call, providing a short-term solution. But once again, no long-term solution was put into place to ensure that this doesn't happen in the future. Former players and current players have voiced their opinions on this issue, as well as the fans. A player that has voiced his opinion is Richard Sherman on the 49ers. He was quoted saying, "For how many officials there are in the NFL, they do an excellent job of being consistent from one crew to the next on interpreting the fouls. But they all make mistakes. Officials become paralyzed by the process of interpretation, and it leads to inaccurate calls that leave us as players shaking our heads in the locker room weeks later. We're being called for penalties that we're not committing, or being called for penalties on rules that are just shaky, not written out correctly. Chopping the rulebook in half would speed up the game and simplify things for the officials. So what Richard Sherman wants to do is just chop the playbook in half, chop the rulebook in half, which would take a lot of the pressure off the officials to not have to make as many calls. This is a pretty good solution. However, the NFL most likely could never do something of that nature. So I believe the NFL needs to start with making sure all of their officials are full-time employees. They have 120 referees employed, 24 of which are full-time. The NFL is a billion-dollar industry, and there's no reason that these officials can't be full-time and devote their lives to make sure that these calls are made correctly, to ensure the fans, players, keep the integrity of the game going for what it is, and not, you don't want to make the game something it's not by just creating calls that are not there. I also believe the NFL should implement laser use. This would be using technology that we have nowadays. The NHL uses it for goals. It lets the NHL officials know if the puck crossed the line for a goal. There's no reason the NFL can't implement this across the line of scrimmage and down the sidelines to ensure players aren't stepping out of bounds or going offside. Also, the NFL should have an official in the skybox in the stadium watching the game. This would ensure they can see the entire playing field and not just one section of the field where they're positioned on the field. Also, a lot of people say they should just review more calls. The problem with that is it would slow down the game, and fans